So, I know, right? So we are officially in the audit committee. It's just the two of us today, or two of the board members today. I'm gonna just take it a little bit out of order on the agenda for audit committee, simply because we're gonna discuss the last one probably a little bit more at length. So the first item would be Loki Bill's extended project review of the Warwick site. Back in November, the audit committee recommended for approval to the full committee an agreement with Loki Brill to review all of the expenses that are being made at the Warwick Valley LDC site, which is the urban extracts extraction facility. And that project has taken longer because there were some changes in the machinery and equipment. And then we've also, as you remember, late last year, authorized another $500,000 for the Warwick property for the lab space. So we've reached out to Loki Brill to get a proposal from them to do the same review on this extra $500,000. But I don't have that proposal yet, but I would, when we approved in November the original contract with Loki Brill, we approved it for 3 months because that's what we were, that was the timeline that we were working with. Now they're delayed another 2 months, so I would request action to extend that. It's $4,280 a month. They review all of the payments that are being made. They review all of the construction schedule. There's a weekly conference call that they're on. Bill and Kelly go to the site. If when Loki Brill comes to the area for their other inspections, they make an inspection at Warwick. So we would request an extension of that agreement with them through the beginning of May 2020, which would be a 2-month extension, just to continue our review of the site.
What's causing the delays in the construction? Is it change orders? Is it?
It's actually, so the project itself, they found a new piece of equipment. So Urban Extracts found a wet extraction piece of equipment versus dry extraction. So it allows them to move straight from the farm into the extraction facility.
Oh, without having to dry everything?
Without having to dry everything. So there's a different ceiling height requirement for that, so they had to kind of go back and reroute. They're investing another of their own money, their own capital. I think was it 500 or $1 million? Another $500,000 into the project because of some of the changes. So it did delay the construction, and our $1 million is almost wrapped up. But once it actually, did they finish the 1.5 million, John?
On one side is the 1.5, on the back side is the additional 500,000. I tried to take pictures of it.
Thank you. So we're actually not, our money is no longer being invested in the urban extract facility, but it is still invested in the lab facility. So either way, we'll still need a few more months of review. I'm just gonna go ahead with the assumption that the 4280 still stands. We're just gonna shift the resources from urban extracts to EDO labs. But I think that 2 months is still sufficient because our financial interest will be wrapped up within that time.
Okay. So you need a motion? So I'll make the motion. All in favor? Aye.
Joel, I will turn it over to you for the investment policies review.
So each year, the New York State, through the ABO, requires a review of, actually, it's the Controller's Office and possibly the ABO, requires a review of the investment policy. In addition, a new requirement effective last year was that the investment policy be audited on an annual basis along with the annual audit, and that started in 2018. So what I'm passing now is the annual investment report that this is what's posted to the website currently. And basically this just shows what investments either matured or purchased or still outstanding throughout 2019. And one of the things that we expanded last year was the use of treasury bills. Chase Bank, typically prior to this, the only investment instrument that the banks were offering were CDs. Chase Bank pitched to me that we can give you, in addition to CD rates, treasury, 6 months, 12 months, obviously government guaranteed, and they would give me 2 rates. They'd give me a CD and a treasury, We had to sign an agreement, set up the appropriate paperwork. This is done for the ID8 and the OCFC, so the availability is there. Last year, there were a couple of treasury bills. You can see there were 6 months T-bills. We are not, one thing that we are not in the position, what we're not doing is buying and selling. We're buying a termed treasury that we're keeping to duration, so it's guaranteed to pay whatever the interest rate that they had set, exactly. So we're not in the business of buying and selling these things. Actually, in this current month, there are 2 CDs that matured that you'll notice on February 3rd and February 28th. February 3rd, we just went into a 6-month CD. That was the best rate. Obviously, I go for the highest rate. And that was, the 6 months treasury was actually higher than the 12-month of anything else.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the highest rate of 6 or 12, so I went with that. And then the end of this month, we have another CD coming due. At this point, I don't think I'm going to invest that entire CD, because just getting back to the World Valley LDC, as you're aware, we've put out up to just under $1.5 million. We're gonna do another $500,000, so we have $2 million. I spoke to Mike Sweeten from Warwick, and he anticipates that first quarter of next year, we will have the money back from the Empire State Grant. So we're talking about a year from now. So I most likely, for the CD that's maturing the end of this month, I don't think I'll put that out very long, because perhaps
Yeah.
we'll need that money.
You wanna have a liquidity.
Exactly, so you know, we have a money market, but I just wanna make sure we have liquidity there. Just real quick, we have.
When you say that they audit the investment, so they just validate the investments
Well,
themselves, or?
no, what they're actually doing, and just in case you had it, last year was the first year. This was at the end, the very last page of the audit is this page, is this report that they issue. And what they're doing is verifying that we're in compliance, more than anything else. They wanna make sure we're in compliance with New York State law,
Okay.
all right?
With
And-
respect to our policies?
Right,
Okay.
exactly, because New York State law actually outlines what your policy should be,
Right,
and then you wanna make sure, A, that we have the policies in place and we're adhering to it.
okay.
So there are things such as, the important things, there are 2 major things I would say. One is collateralization, which is the security of your investment asset, and the second is the vehicles upon which you're allowed to invest in. So they wanna make sure that you're investing appropriately, and also that you've protected yourself with the collateralization. So this is something new that the state has put into place, and this will, 2019 will be the second year that they issue this.
Okay.
As far as the OCFC, again, coming off of, sorry to do that. This is the OCFC investment activity. Again, this is on the website, and it just gives you an overview of activity in 2019. So I think it's good that we get a second, there's an oversight by the auditors that we're complying with what we put into place, which should be in compliance with New York State.
Right. Okay.
And you can see the rates are just, you know, the rate that I just got last week, 1.45. Now, it's not gonna be on there because this is only it doesn't show new activity in 2020. Rates have gone down obviously a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, plus if you're getting higher on the 6th and the 12th, then you got an invert yield curve too.
Exactly, so that's why, yeah. So it was a small, maybe 6 basis points, but I went for
Yeah,
the 6 basis
yeah.
points, yeah.
All right. Now, do we need to validate, or it's gonna have to be recommended to the board?
Actually,
approved?
Joel's just gonna write a memo to the file that we keep in.
Okay,
but then
okay.
we'll, during the audit committee report, just inform the board that the investment policy was reviewed.
Okay, gotcha.
The last thing, I'm sorry, was there were no changes by New York State in general municipal law regarding investments. If there was, then I would have informed Kevin, and he would have updated our policies to reflect any changes, but there weren't.
Okay.
So then, next we will need a motion to go into executive session for the personal.
Discussing the financial and credit history of a client of the IDA.
I'll make a motion.
That too, before he gets a letter of termination, because he has to disclose what he saved.
Right, okay.
So that's it. Any other audit items that you guys would like to discuss?
Not for me.
Then, give me a motion.
Motion. Second.
All right, good deal.
You're adjourned.
I just see John's here.
Okay. So, now we are in the governance committee. We only have one item on the agenda in governance, which is the IDA procurement policies and practices review, which is our attorney, Mr. Dowd, will go ahead and talk to you.
So yearly, we have to look at this. I usually check to see if any changes have been made to the general municipal law regarding the procurement practices and requirements of the state. And we put to you today that I checked, and that there's actually no new changes to those laws, and therefore our procurement policy is still up to snuff and meets state law.
We need to do absolutely nothing.
You need to do absolutely nothing, correct?
That's good.
So that's my report, so.
Any questions?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Send a memo to that effect? Okay.